Good evening and welcome to this channel about past lives and reincarnation. So I read a comment today. This guy talked about young people falling in love. They started a relationship when they were 15, I believe. They later got married and they were so happy together. And I was reminded of my lifetime on Sicily. So I will tell you about this. Now, also, somebody asked me about this life on Sicily for some reason. Okay. Now, remembering past lives, I was very, very fortunate because I got confirmation early on. See, when I thought something was right, I got confirmation that it was true. See, so I knew the feeling. I learned about this feeling. It's a very special feeling when you have total certainty about something. So I was fortunate to get this early on. For example, I'll give you an example of this. I did a video about this earlier, when my kids were missing. Right? My wife was very worried, and we were living in this area. We just moved in there. I went out looking for the kids, and I knew nobody. I didn't even know the roads, but I just started walking. And I got that feeling about where to walk. And I ended up in front of this house that I have never seen, of course. And I just knew that they were in the house. And I knocked on the door and there they were. So that's an example. I got these confirmations. I knew that sensational thing that happened when I was correct. You see, it's a very strong thing. For me it is, at least. Right, so I was looking at this lifetime on Sicily because I was looking at relationships. And the first thing I saw was my father. Again, I think very often I see my father. That's the first thing. Or my mother, but usually my father. And I also saw how proud I was. And this was very strong, a strong emotion. I was so proud. I was a boy and I was helping my father. He was a farmer. And I could do it, I learned and I was pretty good. So I was very, very proud because I could help my father, he could relax a bit, And my parents, they went to this market regularly to sell their products. And I started to go with them. It was usually my father and myself, actually. So I went with him often. I started to go with him when I was maybe 6 years old to help him at the market. And I learned, and I was proud to learn, And very soon I started doing most of the work myself. And, there was some heavy lifting, of course. We did this together. Again, I was very happy about this. But then I did more and more of this work, preparing the stuff, for the market. And then something happened when I was 12. I'm pretty sure about this. I was 12 years old. There was a girl, right? And she was doing what I was doing. She was helping her parents preparing for the market. And I had seen her before. But then when I was 12, I got a different type of interest for her. Well, I got very, very interested in this girl. I thought she was amazing. So pretty, and she was so good. I was watching her preparing the vegetables and the eggs. She was doing such a good job, and I admired her. See, so I was constantly, while I was working, I was constantly looking over on that girl, moving around. And my father noticed, of course. And then when I was done with the work, well, most of it, he said, why don't you take a break and go over to talk to the girl, you know? And I said, oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, you should go over there. Which I did. And we later became a couple. That girl. I married her. And we got family. I didn't look at the rest of this lifetime. I know it was good. But it was this period, up until I was 12 years old, that it was really interesting, I thought. No, and I think this is how it should be. Oh, I think maybe they were much more relaxed about this thing back then. This was the year 400, 500 something. Right? Maybe in this area too, it was more relaxed. I don't know. But my parents, certainly, they were very relaxed about this thing. Oh, yeah. He found his wife, you know. Of course. And I wanted to be like this, really. Things started to become confusing on this subject. And nowadays I see parents in general, they are very nervous, right? Nervous about these things, boys and girls, you know. And they had strange rules about this thing. Well, there were rules back then too, but it was more natural. I think it started to get confusing with the Catholic Church when they came in. They came in hundreds of years later, right? They became big in Europe. Yes, you know, sex became bad, basically. If you were interested in a girl, this was naughty stuff, right? This was the devil's work, wasn't it? And you need to feel guilty about being interested in a girl in a sexual way, you know? Wanted to impregnate her, you know? You want to make love to her. This wasn't good, right? So I think the Catholic Church, they did a lot of bad stuff in this area. And you know, they also introduced this rule that you can't divorce. You know? What's this? I mean, it should be natural. That's the thing. It should be like eating or sleeping. Well, of course, it's an important thing, right? Who you will marry and start a family with. This is, of course, important. But you should follow your instincts on this. And shouldn't be ashamed of it. Absolutely not. Now, my parents back then on Sicily, they knew about this. They were totally relaxed about the whole thing. And I think that's the key to this. You should get very, very good parents who are relaxed about this subject. And who can teach you about it, you know. Can tell you about sex and women and girls and boys, you know. In a relaxed way, in a correct way. Right. That's all. Be good.